There we are. So this was unannounced. Um, I said I wouldn't go live on chemo weeks, and this is a chemo week, but I feel pretty good this morning, so I decided to just jump in. So hopefully, some of you will catch this later, and I hope I'm streaming simultaneously to YouTube and Facebook. So I think I can only see comments here on YouTube. I have to go through YouTube to stream to both platforms. So if you do have comments, if you're able to get into YouTube, um, that might be best if you have questions. Today, I want to talk about how to choose your crystals. A lot of questions about that in the shop daily. How do we know which ones? And that can shift. That can shift daily or weekly or periodically. Also, it's interesting. I've known people through the years who would choose their jewelry in the morning as they were getting ready, and then dress around the jewelry, because jewelry is such a great way to be able to keep the crystals near you. If you are wearing jewelry, I always like to recommend that the jewelry is open in the back so that the energy can flow both ways. Most of the metaphysical jewelers, new age jewelers, whatever you want to call them, do leave everything open in the back so that you can have that energy transmitting. So anyway, let me just jump in. I'll just talk for 10 or 15 minutes or so. This may be a little bit too metaphysical, what I'm going to say for some of you, but I am of the belief that these crystals want to come out of the ground to work with us, and they know where they're going before they come out of the ground. So in that regard, really, a crystal chooses you. So it's up to us to sort of feel that connection. It's really interesting. I think intuition is quick. I think when you try to stall intuition by questioning it, then you get in your head. Like, oh, I'm not sure about that. So for instance, when I'm choosing crystals for people who have ordered from the website, I go in intuitively and I choose what I feel is the right ones for that person. And so often I get messages back saying, oh my God, that was perfect for me. And what I do is I just go in and I say, who wants to come out and play with so-and-so today? And I reach in and I allow my reach to connect with the correct crystal. The other way is sometimes I choose the one I see first. And I've learned through the years not to question that. So how does this relate to you when you're like in a store, for instance, and searching for just that right one? If you are adept with crystals, if you've been working with them for a while, you have your own methods of knowing when it's right. If you're fairly new, some tips may be helpful. And, one of them is, again, to know that your intuition is at work, whether you consider yourself an intuitive person or not. We all have that innate ability. It's our birthright, to sort of have that sixth sense, that knowing space. So as you're moving through, working with the crystals and playing with the crystals, certain ones will draw you. Some people say they call you, but certain ones will be appealing to you in some way. Either they're just going to feel pretty, or they're going to feel good in your hand, or you're just going to keep going back to that bin and continue to look at them. That's your intuition and your higher self letting you know that that's the crystal for you. It's very interesting too. Sometimes people will come in and say they're looking for a crystal to do a specific thing. So they come in with sort of, a hope and an agenda of what they want to work on and work with. But when I line up intuitively with them, sometimes I get called to a crystal that is completely out of that bailiwick. If somebody's looking for a heart crystal and all of a sudden I'm leaning toward, something that's more grounding or something that's more solar plexus, what I understand at that point is that in order for that person to achieve what they're hoping to achieve, they have to unlock some other doors. And so sometimes you need step one before step two. It's fascinating. So if you are one that goes into a shop or, comes to Tushita and we're helping you and you came in with a specific agenda in mind, and that's not a bad word, it's just what you're hoping to achieve that day. But you all of a sudden realize that you're getting drawn to these other crystals that really don't have anything to do with that particular subject. Go with it. Trust it. That's your intuition and your spirit guides and your higher self shaking hands with you and saying, let's do this first. This part comes first. It goes back to we have to do our work. I'm doing my work again, because I get cancer again. So I know that I didn't do as much work as I might have, or maybe I didn't go deep enough, or maybe I didn't trust myself enough to release those locks. So I'm going back and doing that work again. I don't mind doing it. It's, for my benefit. And so if you think of it that way, you've got step one, step two, step three kind of thing. So let's see. I just jotted some notes down. I've kind of hit, the highlights of what I wanted to say. And here on YouTube, I don't have anybody in here. So what I'm hoping is you guys will pop in later and that maybe this is helpful. I'm trying to think if there's anything else around this that could be helpful for you. Choosing your crystals when actually they have already chosen you. Sometimes people want to know how many they can carry and, with them, can you get overloaded with crystal energy? Sometimes you can, particularly if you're new to the scene and, you think more is more. Sometimes it's really helpful to just know that less is more and to start gradually, because your energy field has to adapt, and your body and your spirit and your psyche and your soul, everything's working together to incorporate the energy of these crystals. And especially if you have some heavy duty stuff you're working on. So if you're brand new, I would recommend starting gradually, carrying a few with you and adding to that. Maybe having a few tumbled stones in your pocket or flat stones, palm stones, and maybe adding some jewelry. And then increasing that as you go. But trust your intuition. Trust that you're reaching for the right one, because your higher self is never wrong as long as you give it that space to run the show, because that's moving through your heart and up through your higher self, which is your direct connection to source. Okay. I don't have anybody here in YouTube, so I don't have any questions. You certainly can ask questions later. I do check these comments. So, go ahead and, if you have questions, concerns, it doesn't even have to relate to this. If you'd like me to address a different subject, something that's interesting for you, just pop that in the chat or private message me and we'll get it going on. Okay. I'm glad I could make it in today, and I hope you guys catch this later. If you have not subscribed, please do so and hit that thumbs up on your way out and the notification bell. So when I do go live, you'll be notified. All right. We'll see you guys. Happy Wednesday.